I have a particular view of Tassajara summer, which is that I've been here for a long time, so I see kind of the flow of people coming through. So now, for me, a lot of people return in the summer both who I know and maybe even more who know me, and I can see what a relief it is for them to come. So for the students, it's a little more complicated than that because they're coming to work and coming to really look at themselves, and it's often a surprise to people. You can't really know what Tassajara is like until you get here. But for almost everyone, there's some real opening that you can actually see on people's faces.
A summer at Tassajara is beautiful and really challenging practice, and you get out of it what you bring. So if you bring to the idea of your time here spiritual transformation, that's probably what's going to show up for you. If you bring the idea of, I'm just going to have a break from whatever the rest of my life is, then you'll get that probably. And then on top of that, there are all these other, there's so much that shows up that you can't imagine. So much shows up that you can't imagine. It's transformational.
I think, trying to describe what Tassajara is like here in the summer is, it's challenging. It's challenging to explain just what an incredible place it is and how supported a person can feel here. It was my first experience of living in community, and there's something incredibly surprising.
I think everyone should experience Tassajara in the summer, whether you're a guest or coming to be a student. It's hard to describe. It definitely wears you down. It definitely builds you up. You meet incredible people, wonderful teachers come through these doors all summer long that you can sit with and access. I was really scared to come, and I had many friends that agreed that I should be scared, that it's really rigorous, it's really hot, it's a lot of hard work, but everyone was glad they did it.
Yeah, I think people should come here if they really want to actually end their suffering or lessen their suffering. There are some deeply experienced teachers who live here, very mature practitioners who you can, it's a little different reading a book or watching someone give a Dharma talk on a kind of stage than living with people. I've heard that Suzuki Roshi wanted to found Tassajara so that he could transmit the practice of Zazen by his students living with him and eating and working, sleeping, sitting, getting sick, just living close together. So the practice of Zazen can be transmitted that way, and Zazen is ending your suffering so that you can be available to others in that way. And the world really needs it, people like that.
In my opinion, I think everyone should come to Tassajara, at least for a little bit. I've been reflecting a lot on what a rare opportunity and just a unique place this is, if for no other reason than we're stuck in the middle of the wilderness. We're surrounded by thousands and thousands of acres of just wilderness that's protected lands. And there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell service basically. And I don't know how many other places in the world are like that at this point. Just truly natural communities, just focused on people living and working and sharing together. And then when you add in the element of practice, I mean, I found that it's, yeah, just one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
A typical day at Tassajara for me personally is that I try to get up about 4:30 to do some yoga.
I always get up before the bell because I like to stretch before going into the zendo for zazen first thing.
I wake up to the sound of my alarm at 4:40 in the morning, and then I haul myself out of bed. This is ideal situation, and go and make tea for my friend Jo. And I bring her tea, and when the wake-up bell comes ringing along past her cabin, she knows I'm probably there, and she opens the door, and we sit on her rug and quietly drink tea. And then
Zazen starts at 5:50. We have an hour of sitting. We have service, and then we do some soji.
Then there's, you know, breakfast with everyone. There's work circle with everyone. I'd say work circle is one of my favorite points of the day. You kind of share all the announcements, whether it's the zendo jobs or if it's people's birthdays or just kind of general like scheduling and classes. It's kind of like reading the news, but it's more humane, you know, it's actually people talking to each other.
And then you go to work. And most jobs start with or incorporate some kind of a service within the job, which is really, really neat, really a cool way that the work is also differentiated from work outside in the rest of the world. And then you have your lunch break, and you have an hour for lunch, and then you go back to work again, and you work until 4:30, and then from 4:30 to 5:50 is, you know, bath exercise time, but you can do whatever you want. One of the beautiful things at that point in the day is the bathhouse is reserved specifically for silent resident bathing. So you can go and it's really empty and it's silent, and it's really beautiful. And then you go to evening service, which is only 10 minutes long, dinner, and then
often there'll be some kind of group meeting after dinner. Maybe this summer we've had a lot of social justice groups coming together. So maybe it'll be an Undoing Patriarchy group or an Unpacking Whiteness group.
And then we make it back to the zendo to sit in the evening starting at 8:40. We do one period of zazen, finish at 9:20, and most of us try to get to bed as quickly as possible to do it again the next day.
we do a lot of work, whether it's the kitchen or the dining room, zendo, bathhouse, and we each bring the mind that we have to our work.
We essentially work full days, and depending on what crew you're on, you either work 3 days on, 1 day off, or 4 days on, 1 day off. So you really get a chance to sink into whatever job it is that you're doing.
This summer I've been working on the dining room crew.
This summer I'm a Zen kitchen apprentice.
I work in bag lunch, so we set up some different foods for the guests to eat.
So we feed the guests. It's all family style, so we're not actually serving a lot, but we're bringing the food into the dining hall and tending to the guests 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
So we basically create all kinds of different offerings, and we get pretty creative usually.
When you're working in the kitchen, you get a chance to very clearly see the work as practice in terms of being one with chopping your onion in silence with other people, which is actually a very powerful experience that you don't get in the world.
And work is especially important because it's with other people. A lot of people think that meditation is something to do alone, but meditation is much more about engaging with the world. You go away into retreat or into a sitting to look deeply and kind of explore who is this person and how is this person, in order to choose how you want to meet the world. So the more sitting I've done, whether it's long retreats or just daily sitting, has been a process of actually opening my heart. And work and play and relationships are the place where I get to see, well, how's that working?
the Sangha at Tassajara is incredible in the summer. You know, it's a mix of people that have lived here for 40 years and people that have just heard about Zen and decided to come and check it out.
I really think that anybody who is interested in exploring what a sitting practice might be like. We have a lot of people that come here who have never sat before. Exploring what that might mean to you, exploring what living in community might mean, exploring what being disconnected from devices might mean. I think anybody who is open to those ideas and curious about them and willing to commit to following the schedule and the rules. Of course, we have, like any community, you need to have rules to live by. So if you're a person who looks at those rules that you can see online and see if they seem workable for you, that you could commit to following the schedule. And if you're curious, then I think it would be a great thing to explore.
Oh, I was looking forward to this question. The difficulties of being at Tassajara are no different than the difficulties you'll find anywhere else. You won't find an escape from your suffering here, and you won't find an escape from your suffering anywhere else. But what might be a little bit different about here is that there's a community of mature practitioners who you can live with, and you can explore what is the practice of Zazen and Buddhism.
Well, a friend of mine, somebody who was here for a year way back in the 70s, he was only here for a year, and I met him years later, and I asked him, what was it like for you to be at Tassajara? Did it have any effect on your life? And he said, I rejoined the human race. And I think there's something about that for some people, and from some other people who maybe feel like they're maybe too much in the human race, too relational. There's, for me, for instance, who is pretty much focused on relationship, there's some settling in myself, and for other people, some settling in themselves. And those two things of settling in yourself and meeting with other people seems to be a really potent combination.